Hi everyone, I'm Athena. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, please click on the subscribe button in order to receive notifications for any new videos that I upload. In today's video, I want to talk about the similarities and the differences between somebody who has ASD and someone who has CPTSD. So before we talk about the similarities and the differences, let's talk a little bit about what ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, is and what CPTSD is. The one similarity between CPTSD and ASD is that they are both neurological conditions. Complex PTSD is very similar to PTSD but has different potential causes and additional symptoms. Classical PTSD results from one single traumatic event, whereas CPTSD is developed over many years from repeated trauma. And one of the biggest reasons for somebody having CPTSD is when they have had continuous childhood abuse and neglect or continuous domestic violence. Individuals are generally at a higher risk of developing CPTSD if their traumas have occurred at a young age, because their brain is still developing, which means that the constant stress that they are under will affect the way that their brain is formed. Now, CPTSD is not listed in the DSM-5, however, it has all of the symptoms that regular PTSD has, and in addition to these, people with CPTSD have emotional dysregulation, negative self-cognitions, and interpersonal hardship. They have constant anger or distrust towards the world. They can feel intense feelings of emptiness. They carry around what is known as toxic shame. They can have dissociative symptoms such as depersonalization or derealization. They can have consistent difficulties in remaining calm, and they have a very distorted view of the world. CPTSD has also got something known as emotional flashbacks, which are different to actual visual flashbacks, which means that the person who has emotional flashbacks flashes back to an emotion that was experienced in a traumatic moment in their childhood, and they have the intense feelings of helplessness or hopelessness that they felt when they were a child in an abusive situation. Now, CPTSD is a serious psychiatric condition that significantly affects people that have it, and it potentially can lead to significant changes in a person's personality and how they relate to the world. And it's important to mention that many symptoms of borderline personality disorder overlap with those of CPTSD. Now, autism spectrum disorder, simply known as autism, is a lifelong condition which affects how someone interprets the world, how they communicate, and how they interact with others, think, and behave. People that have ASD usually have difficulties with social skills, they have many repetitive behaviors, they have a lot of communication challenges, and they can feel overwhelmed easily by certain stimuli in their environment. They can struggle to hold a conversation sometimes, and they find it very difficult to understand others' reactions, emotions, and motivations. They do have a lot of repetitive or restrictive symptoms. They may repeat certain behaviors. They may have an intense, very focused interest on a particular subject. And they can become very upset by a small change in their routine. So routine is extremely important for people with ASD. They can also struggle with difficulties in sleeping and with anxiety or symptoms of OCD. Now, there are obviously some positives. People on the autistic spectrum may have very good memory and recall. They may be visual or auditory learners, and they may excel in certain subjects such as science or music. Now, how do CPTSD and ASD actually compare? CPTSD and ASD do have similar symptoms, but the root cause of these behaviors is different. ASD starts during the process of development of the nervous system and begins very early in life, whereas CPTSD develops in response to a traumatic situation that is prolonged. Now, a similarity between CPTSD and ASD individuals is that they can both exhibit a reduced interest in social interactions. For those with CPTSD, this actually stems from social withdrawal, as the affected person feels afraid of others or finds it hard to trust others or has a lot of anxiety around others. Those with ASD, on the other hand, they simply don't get a lot out of social interactions. They don't feel that it is very appealing. They don't feel that they need social interactions compared to a neurotypical person who enjoys socializing, who needs people in their life. Now, both disorders can cause difficulties in sharing emotions. Those suffering with CPTSD may struggle to share their emotions because they don't trust others or because they feel intense shame about the emotions that they feel. Those with ASD have a reduced social communication ability, and they sometimes can't quite figure out how to tell others about what they are feeling. They struggle to actually express their emotions. Another important similarity is that both people with CPTSD and autism have sensory sensitivities. So sensory sensitivities can develop in somebody who has had childhood trauma, who lives with CPTSD, because it may be that they were surrounded by a lot of noise, by a lot of arguing, by a lot of yelling. So they may generally find it overstimulating to be around a lot of people, a lot of noise, and they prefer to go to quiet places where they aren't as triggered. Whereas people with autism can generally have sensory sensitivities as a core feature of their disorder. And these can be present consistently. They're not necessarily tied to specific events. Autistic individuals may be hyper or hyposensitive to sensory input like sounds, lights, textures, or smells. Another couple of similarities between the two disorders is that both conditions can cause anxiety or fear in certain situations. And lastly, both conditions can also cause sleep disturbances and difficulty with concentration. Now, it's important to mention that those with ASD can experience sensory overload a lot more quickly than others, which can make them more prone to developing PTSD. And also, it's important to mention that both people with CPTSD and ASD can actually have co-occurring conditions alongside the ones they already have. So sometimes people with autism can also have ADHD, they can also have anxiety disorders, or they can also have obsessive compulsive disorder. And the same goes with people that have CPTSD. They can have a lot of these overlapping conditions. Sometimes borderline personality disorder and CPTSD can be confused, but in many cases, there is overlapping, which can make diagnosis a lot harder for clinicians. But the important thing to remember in this video is that somebody with CPTSD and somebody with autism can actually get on really well. They can actually have a really good relationship, an intimate relationship, because they both have certain sensitivities that are similar because of the trauma and because of their autism, which means they both will have a certain outlook on life. They will both want a calm and peaceful life together. They will both need structure. They will need quiet time. They don't like a lot of stimulation, so the activities that they do together will be similar. And also, both individuals can very much benefit from creative pursuits, from the arts. So using art, music as therapy is very good. And also they can both benefit very much from having a dog. Dogs can be incredibly soothing for people with CPTSD and autism, as well as cats, of course. It really depends on your preference of what pet you like. But in my experience, dogs have been absolutely amazing for me. They're very good at helping you ground yourself. They're very good at helping you stay in the moment. you exercise regularly when you have a dog, and they're just overall great companions. Now, if there was anything you thought that I didn't mention in this video that you would like to add in the comments below, then please feel free to do so. That is the end of the video today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.